So I was asked to come and talk to you about personal finance in general. Well, I only have an hour. It's really hard to cram everything into 1 hour. So what I have chosen to do today is talk to you about some of the do's and the don'ts, some of the things that you really need to be watching out for while you're a student as you wait to complete your degree. First of all, I'm Professor Post. I'm a professor of finance in the Burris Building, Coles Business College, and I also happen to have a passion for personal finance. I have been involved in teaching personal finance concepts to young people for about 15 years now. So when they asked me to come and talk to you about the do's and the don'ts of personal finance, I was really excited to be here with you today. Okay, so let me start by sharing a couple of quotes with you. First one, Kanye West, "Having money isn't everything. Not having it is." Money with Katie. Having money or not having money will impact the entire trajectory of your adult life. And then finally, a quote by Dave Ramsey, a radio personality. "You will either learn to manage money or the lack of it will manage you." Right? So that's kind of like my premise for today as to what it is we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about money. Now, why is the topic of money important? Well, let me address first the fact that very few people actually talk about money. Money in our culture is kind of like a taboo. It's a norm. We don't really talk about money, especially when we don't have a whole lot of money, right? Because in our society, money very much is tied to your sense of worthiness. You feel worthy when you're comfortable, when you have money. You don't feel so great when you don't have money, okay? It also is a status symbol. It doesn't have to be that you own a yacht or a sailboat. It has to be with the fact that you seem to be comfortable spending money on a day-to-day basis. So this money concept, in fact, is very much tied to success or failure. If you're successful, you have money. If you're not successful, you have failed. Do you agree? You resonate with me so far? Okay, so therefore talking about money is very important. What we need to understand, though, is I'm looking at the age group that is sitting in front of me. A lot of times, students are going to get a pass on money, right? It's okay to be broke in college. I mean, you don't have your grown-up job yet. You're in school because you're hoping to get to that point where you can apply for those jobs where you're going to be making money. So the theory for a lot of students is, hey, listen, I'm broke. Everybody else is broke. And by the way, this is college. We have to have fun. This is the only time in our life where we are going to be with lots of people just like us, unattached, very few responsibilities. This is the time to have fun. And listen, I was in college, I put 2 kids through college, so I understand that. Okay? Now, the concept is that, hey, you know what? You are in college so that you can graduate and you can vie for important jobs. So soon enough, you're going to be adulting. Soon enough, you're going to have responsibilities. So listen, while in college, just, give us a break, right? Let's not talk about money too much. So the problem is with this, the problem is that your personal finance journey has already started. Your personal finance journey is happening as we speak. So today, I wanted to share with you guys some tips, things to do, things not to do while you are in college so that when you graduate, you can start adulting on the right foot and not start adulting in the hole, right? You can resonate with this. You've all started classes where you took your first test and you bombed it, right? And then it takes you the rest of your semester to try to dig out of the hole that you have dug for yourself. The same is true for personal finances. So while you're in college, and while it is cool to have fun, and while you should have fun in college, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind as you journey through to graduation to set yourself up for success upon graduation. Sounds good? So, agenda today, we're going to talk about spending money. We're going to talk about excessive and uncontrolled spending. We're going to talk about not having an emergency fund and how that might hurt you in the long run. We're going to talk about credit cards and credit card debt. We're going to talk about your credit score and how ignoring your credit score while you're in college is going to be very detrimental to you in the future. We are going to talk about life without a financial plan and how that may end up hurting you in the long run. And then we're going to talk about how not understanding the time value of money is going to hurt you long term as well. Sounds good? All right, let's start with a don't. Excessive and uncontrolled spending. And you might be thinking, well, that's not me. It's not excessive, it's not uncontrolled. But here's my question to you. Have you ever gone somewhere and said, you know what, I know I had 40 bucks in my wallet, and you're opening it up and there's like $2 and some change left, and you're standing there and you're going, what did I do with this money? Has that ever happened to you? It happens to everyone, right? And it seems like once you break your big bills, the little bills just go right away. Well, the truth of the matter is, it is so very easy to spend money, isn't it? Spending money is fun. And I can only imagine as a college student how you're spending your money, right? I mean, come on, there's online shopping. You don't even have to go to the store to spend money. In between classes, I see my students and they're scrolling. They're looking on TikTok for the next new outfit that they want to buy, right? Birthdays. All these friends that you have, they have birthdays and opportunities to celebrate. And you've got to get a little gift. And then we're going out to dinner to celebrate. Fun activities. Have to have fun in college, right? There is no end of possibilities to have fun in college. Unfortunately, all of those activities cost money. Spring break. Do y'all like spring break? Do y'all go on spring break? Spring break. Starbucks coffee or coffee shop on your way to class, right? All of that are opportunities to spend money. The one key element to most of what it is I am talking about here is peer pressure. You have a group of friends. You have several groups of friends. Your friends are busy planning things. And the peer pressure is such that, hey, you know, it would be fun for you to also be doing those things. And there's always going to be opportunities through peer pressure to be involved in things that are going to be costing you money, okay? At some point, you need to decide for yourself how you're going to be spending the money that you do have, and you need to be aware of how you're spending the money that you do have, okay? So, most of the time in a real Adulting 101 class, we'll be talking about putting together a budget. Now, for most adults, when you say the word budget, their eyes glaze over, they roll their eyes, because for a lot of people, a budget simply means that you're trying to limit the fun that they can have. They're trying to limit your lifestyle. So what I am going to tell you is, you need to have a spending plan. Right? And that spending plan needs to identify those categories of your lifestyle that you spend money on. And you need to determine for each one of those categories on a monthly basis, how much money are you going to allow yourself to spend on that one category. So to do this, you have to do a little soul searching. How much are you spending on a monthly basis on fun? How much are you spending on going out to dinner? How much are you spending on fees and birthday gifts on a monthly basis? Come up with a number. It doesn't have to be exact. And then say to yourself, you know what, starting next month, instead of living life and just doing whatever happens to come my way. How about I say, for the next month, for the month of March, let's say, I will spend no more than $100 on gifts, right? It's pretty easy as you go through the month to kind of keep a tally of how much you are spending on that one category, right? So trying to figure out how you're spending your money, how much you're spending on a monthly basis, and limiting how much you spend on any one category is going to help you better control your money. Because remember, the goal is to get to a point where you are telling your money what to do, as opposed to money flowing out of your pockets and you not knowing where it's going and having to chase after it and trying to make up for the money that you don't have. So what we're trying to do is come up with a system that is going to allow you to control where your money goes. You need to get in a position where you are telling your money where it is going. And then once that category is full up for the month, well, then we no longer have money for that category, and we have to wait until the next month to replenish it. Does that make sense? So what I am suggesting that you do at this stage in your life is to come up with a spending plan. I don't want to take away your fun. Maybe your one big category is called fun. At this point, all you need to do is say, well, how much do I actually have for fun activities? Determine what that number is and try to keep track of it. At the end of the day, having a spending plan, by the way, might be a wonderful excuse not to spend. You've been in that situation, right, where somebody comes to you and say, hey, the 3 buddies and I, we're going to do this weekend. Come on with us, right? And you're sitting there going, oh, I'd like to, but this is going to be $50 for whatever it is we're doing. And you kind of feel bad not doing it. So peer pressure again will say, well, I figure out where I'm going to get the $50 and I'll go ahead and do it. Well, if you have a spending plan, guess what? You tell your group of friends, that sounds like such a wonderful idea, but honestly, I have met my spending limit for fun activities this month. And so I'm going to have to wait until next month to be able to do something like this. Guess what? A lot of times when you're doing things like that amongst people of your age, they're going to stop and listen and say, well, why do you have a spending plan? What is that all about? Right? And then you have an opportunity to share with them some of the things that you do know and how you're trying to control your money going forward. Now, I know a lot of you love your phone and your apps, right? There's a lot of apps out there that are considered to be budgeting apps that are very easy to use, that are very visual, that you can have on your phone so that as you determine your categories and how much you want to spend per each category as you're interacting in the market, you can go ahead and enter your information, so we'll let you know exactly how much money you have already spent on each one of those categories. Mint used to be a really wonderful app. They went out of business, they closed it down. Simplify is another one of those free apps that seems to be resonating very well with college students. Okay, so number 1, don't overspend. No excessive spending is going to be critical in making sure you get to the finish line, which is graduation, with having some money left. Okay? Number 2, not having money set aside for emergency is a big issue. Everyone, regardless of your age, regardless of what you do, should have an emergency fund. Why? Well, you all know that life is going to throw you some curveballs. It could be as simple as you have a flat tire on your way to school and you're on the side of the road and you just can't get those lug nuts loose and you have to call a towing company. They have to tow your car and it turns out they have to replace your tire, and then by the way your other 3 tires also need to be replaced, and now you're looking at, I don't know, $500 of tires and repair and tow truck that you just hadn't planned for. Okay? Or God forbid, you end up rear-ending someone. It's your fault. It's not bad. You agreed to simply pay for the repairs. If you happen to have bumped into the back of a Tesla, you're looking at $2,000 for a little dent. right? Those are the curveballs that I'm talking about. Or your apartment floods, it's not your fault, but you didn't have renter's insurance, and now all your furniture has been destroyed. So now you're looking at whatever, $1,000 to go ahead and secure some furniture for your apartment again. That is what I am talking about, okay? The goal of the emergency fund is that when those mishaps happen, well, they happen, they're not fun, but you now have an emergency fund to tap into so that they don't also become financial emergencies. Does that make sense? So now you're getting your new tires. It's not fun. It needed to happen. You had to pay for them, but you had an emergency fund set up so you can just pay for those tires and move on. As opposed to you have to pay $500 for your tires and you have no money. It's become a financial emergency now, as well as a tire emergency. Make sense? So, you need to set up an emergency fund. If you don't have one, you need to have one. The sole purpose of the emergency fund will be to act as a safety net. It's there should you need it, all right? So, the rule of thumb when you become a true adult, okay, the rule of thumb is everybody should have between 3 to 6 months of expenses saved in case of emergency. Of course, the case of emergency there most of the time is going to be you've lost your job, you're unemployed, and it may take you 3 months to get a new job. So your emergency fund needs to be big enough to support all your expenses between 3 to 6 months. That's the rule of thumb for adults. For college students, you should have at least $1,000 in your emergency fund, okay? Don't have $1,000 in a savings account as an emergency fund? No worries. A lot of people don't have it that should have it, but go ahead and set it up. The best way to set up an emergency fund is to create a savings account, and every month tell your money to spend whatever you can to your emergency fund. It could be $20, it could be $30, until you have $1,000. Once you have your emergency fund, you no longer have to fund it. It's there for you. It's going to act as a safety net. Okay, let's talk about credit cards for a minute, okay? Don't mismanage your credit cards, okay? That's the big message here. Don't mismanage your credit cards. Understand that every time you swipe your credit card, effectively, you are borrowing money. Did you know that? Every time you swipe your credit card, you are borrowing money. Money that belongs to the bank or the credit card company that has issued the credit card to you. Well, here's a rule of thumb that you should live by now and as an adult. If you can't pay off that credit card bill when it comes in the mail the next month, you can't afford what you just put on your credit card. So before you swipe your credit card, think, can I actually pay for this? Do I have the money, or will I have the money in a couple of weeks to pay for this when my credit card bill comes? And if the answer is nope, you really can't afford what you're putting on your credit card, right? You're in fact living outside your means. It means you're borrowing from somebody else in order to fund your lifestyle. So rule number one, if you have a credit card, you need to be able to pay off your balance every month. If you don't, let me show you what happens. Okay, credit cards, by the way, love students in particular, right? Because credit card companies are going to tell you this. We want you to have the life that you deserve. You need to be able to buy whatever it is you want. And we are here to help you achieve that lifestyle. As a matter of fact, this is so important to us that we're not going to ask you to pay off your credit card balance every month. We are going to be happy with you just paying a minimum balance, which is going to be very affordable, by the way. And as long as you pay your minimum balance, you're golden. You're good to go. We're happy, and you're happy because we've enabled you to buy whatever it is you wanted, okay? All right, now, credit card balances are very costly, and let me show you how. So here's an example. As you can see here, this is a credit card debt calculator. We have a credit card balance of $1,000. The interest rate on the credit card is 21%. And the bank has been very kind. You only have to make a monthly payment of $20 a month. Remember, everybody's happy. Credit card company's happy, you're happy, and we go on and we live life. Well, if you do that and you don't charge anything else on your credit card, right? So this $1,000 that you're trying to pay off, it is going to take you $3,798 to pay off this amount. Okay, so it will take you, are you ready? 19 years to pay off $1,000. And by the time you're done, you will have paid almost $4,000 to pay back $1,000. Why? Because of that interest rate that the credit card company is charging you. In this case, it's 21%. You're paying 21% to the credit card companies to allow you to carry your balance over from month to month. Do you want to know why banks and credit card companies have these really nice buildings? Because consumers, like you and me, enable them to be very wealthy because we allow them to charge us these ridiculous interest rates on the balances that we're not paying off. Okay? All right, let's talk about this interest rate. It was 21% in the example I used earlier. So remember I said anytime you swipe your card, you're essentially borrowing from the credit card company. Because you're borrowing, you're going to have to pay your credit card company a certain amount of interest. They're going to want you to pay them to allow you to carry your credit card balance. On average, if you look at the average interest rates for the past couple of years, the credit card companies have charged about between 24 and 25%. Now, I want you to think for a second. If you were to buy a car today, how much interest would the bank actually charge you? Does anybody know? Has anybody bought a car recently, taken a loan for a car? About 5%. If you buy a house, what are the current interest rates for a house loan? About 7%. Do you hear it? 5% for a car, 7% for a house, 25% for your credit card debt. Does that strike you as ridiculously high? It does, doesn't it? Let me ask you another question. You guys have bank accounts? And your bank accounts let you earn a little interest every month, doesn't it? Has anybody bothered to see how much interest you're earning per month? What is it?
It was like $5.
Whoa, you need to tell me what bank you're going to. Man, that's great. Do you know? Yeah.
You said banking or saving?
Either.
Well, savings, usually like basic ones are like 0.01%.
0.01%, you're right.
Yeah, but I have a high yield savings account with another company that gives me like the highest in the market, which is like 4.2% right now.
Okay. But her original answer is a basic answer. Most checking accounts, even savings accounts for that matter, are going to pay you 0.01%. So the bank is paying you 0.01%, but they're charging you 25%. Do you see that? So who's the winner here? Right? The bank is the winner every single time. And the bank, again, is going to be very happy for people to keep carrying their balances from month to month to month because they're going to be earning so much money. Okay, if you have a credit card and you are carrying a balance, There are lots of credit card payoff calculators that are available online. This one here is from bankrate.com. So if you're interested in knowing how long it would take you to pay off your credit card, you can plug your numbers in that calculator. In this example, there's a credit card balance of $2,500, and the interest rate is 24%, which is the norm for credit card companies, and the minimum payment required is $75. So if you make your minimum payment, we're talking about 56 months for you to pay off your balance, okay? By the way, 56 months, that's almost 5 years. It would take you that long to pay off your balance. Now take a look at what happens when we have the same information, but this time you have determined that you were eager to pay off your credit card balance. In other words, this is you taking control over your money and telling your money where to go, and you're telling your money to send $200 every month to that credit card instead of the $75 they've asked for. If you do that, it will take you 15 months to pay off your credit card. Okay? Compare that to 5 years if you just paid the minimum amount. So again, if you're curious and you happen to be one of those people that is carrying a credit card balance, because, hey, listen, life happens, and sometimes when you don't have an emergency fund, guess what you end up doing to be able to afford your new tires? You end up swiping your credit card, right? So for a lot of people, their emergency fund is in the form of a credit card, and unfortunately with a credit card, you end up paying ridiculous amounts of interest to the credit card company. All right, but that's not all. That's not all. Credit card companies also love to charge you fees. There's a fee for just about everything when you have a credit card. Now, some credit cards have annual fees. Sometimes they tell you that they don't have an annual fee, and then when you read the fine print, they're basically saying just the first year, and then they'll be charging you an annual fee after that. Late payment fees, even if you pay late one day, many credit card companies will charge you $39 fee for paying 1 day late. A missed payment fee, let's say you were busy being on spring break and your credit card bill came due and you just didn't pay it. You forgot. Well, obviously, they're going to slap you with a huge fee for missing that payment, okay? And by the way, notice that this says will trigger penalty interest rates. So remember how we talked about the percentage, the interest rates being between 22%, 25%? When you miss a credit card payment, the credit card activates what they call a penalty rate. That penalty rate is usually 39.9%, right? So if you miss a payment, now they're automatically going to be calculating the interest on your balance at almost 40%. And by the way, will you get a notice saying that that's what they're doing? And the answer is no, because it's in the fine print. So unless you're looking at your bill very carefully, you might not even see that they've activated the trigger, they've triggered the penalty interest rate. And then of course there's the over the limit fees. I'm not going to ask you this question, but I asked this question to true adults who are taking a personal finance class. I asked them to think about one credit card and to tell me what their limit is on their credit card. And you know what? For most people, they don't know, right? Every credit card has been approved with a certain limit. If you happen to charge beyond the limit that was approved for you, they're going to charge you an over the limit fee. But then the over the limit fee is going to put you even more over the limit, which is going to trigger another over the limit fee, right? So you need to know what your limit is, and you need to be staying away from your limit. And of course, if you pay off your credit card every month, that's typically not going to be an issue for you. But that's another fee that they like very much to charge. So, in summary, what do we have to say about credit cards? I mean, listen, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that. I'm not going to tell you they're bad. Okay, they do serve a purpose. They're incredibly convenient. They secure your transaction between the vendors that you're interacting with and the bank. They help you with fraud. There's a lot of benefits to credit cards as long as you are the master of your credit card and not the other way around. Don't let your credit card be the master of your life. You need to be the master of your credit card. And the way to do that is to make sure that you handle it well. Don't overspend. Pay your balance in full every single month so that you can avoid falling in any of those traps that are out there for you. Okay, so here we go. I've got this nice little graph saying credit card advice. Avoid, number 1, overspending. We've already established that. Number 2, paying only the minimum balance. That's not going to help you. Number 3, ignoring credit card statements. And listen, when you're in college, that's easy to do, right? I mean, you don't even get the mail every day. And then it's going to end up sitting in a stack for a while, and then one day you'll just remember going through it, and it's going to be very easy to do. Avoid maxing out your credit card limit, your credit limit. Apply for too many credit cards, and I'll tell you why in a second. That's also a temptation, isn't it? Have you ever been to the store, especially around Christmas, and you're buying stuff in stores where you really haven't been before, and you're checking out, and the person behind the register tells you, "Oh man, do you have our credit card?" No. Would you want to go ahead and apply for the credit card? If you apply for the credit card, you're going to get 30% off of your purchase today. And you go, well, and there's people behind you, and they go, oh, it'll take like 10 seconds. It really won't take long at all. And then you're going to get all these promotional offers in the mail. Has that happened to you before? Happened to everyone. Do you know what? These cashiers, they get a commission for selling credit cards, right? So they get a certain amount for every credit card that they have sold that day. Did you know that? Yeah, right? So anyway, so it's very tempting to get yet another credit card, but I'm going to show you in a minute why you shouldn't do that. And then neglecting your due dates, you got to pay your bills on time, and falling for promotional offers. Oh, they're very good at trying to lure customers their way, right? Hey, listen, no interest payment for the first 6 months, or 8% interest payment for the first 6 months. And then after the first 6 months are over, what they don't tell you is they're going to end up charging you 30% instead of the 24%. So the key is, if somebody's trying to lure you into a credit card with an exceptional offer, they're trying to lure you for specific reasons. There's usually a catch, and you'd have to read the fine print to know what the catch is. So don't ever fall for the pitch, especially at the register. If somebody asks you if you want a credit card at a discount, I always say to them, oh, I'd love to get 30% discount, but thank you so much, I have enough credit cards as it is, right? So you don't fall for that. Okay. Credit card mistake, not handling your finances, will impact your FICO score. I don't know if you've heard of your FICO score before, but your FICO score is basically your credit score. And I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but as we're speaking, you guys, as young as you may be, you are busy compiling a credit score. The credit score, think of it as your personal finance GPA, right? Every time you interact in the market, every time you pay someone, every time you use your credit card, anytime you make a payment to your credit card company, you are compiling data that is going to go against your credit score, your personal finance GPA. The difference is, your credit score, this FICO score, is going to follow you for the rest of your life until you die, right? So as you're interacting in the market, realize that you are currently working on setting a credit score for yourself. Okay, so it's based on your personal credit history, and we'll talk about what makes up your FICO score in a minute. It ranges from 300, really bad, to 850, excellent. And what you need to know about the FICO score, your credit score, it is the score that determines whether or not you're credit worthy. So any lender, at one point you may be in the market for a car, You may be in the market for a house. The very first thing lenders are going to do is check your credit score. Immediately they'll know what kind of potential borrower you're going to be. But that's not all. When you graduate, I mean, you may be 10 years away from trying to buy a house, I don't know. But certainly when you graduate from college, you're going to be looking for an apartment. Well, guess what? Lenders also check your credit score. They want to make sure that as you sign the lease, they feel like they have done their due diligence and they have checked your credit score to make sure that you are a good risk for them. I bet you didn't know that the other parties that check your credit score are your potential employers. A lot of them, when they have multiple people applying for jobs, are going to be looking for ways to sort through the applicants. They are going to be checking your credit score because your credit score is going to give them a good indication of what kind of person you are. Are you credit worthy? Have you been paying attention to your personal finance life? Can they trust you with corporate assets? Okay, so all of those people are going to be interested in your credit score. By the way, FICO stands for Fair Isaac Corporation. Very few people know that. We just know it as FICO score. And let's take a look at how they come up with your FICO score. So at the very top, 30% of your FICO score is determined based on how much money you owe. The more money you owe, the fewer points you're going to get. 35% is based on your payment history, right? What you do need to realize is that every single month, as corporation, credit card companies, rental companies are collecting their payments, they're going to upload this information with the credit bureaus. So the credit bureaus are busy collecting everything that you do from a payment perspective, and they track it all with your Social Security number, right? So every time you're making a payment to your landlord and it's on time, when their payment history gets uploaded into the credit bureau, next to your Social Security number will appear an on-time payment. If you're late, guess what? It'll show as a late payment. If it's a missed payment, it'll show as a missed payment. They're using all of this payment history to determine 35% of your credit score. All right, 10% is your credit mix. Well, for you guys, there's probably not going to be, you're not going to get a whole lot of point for that. Credit mix basically says, hey, listen, you have a car loan, you have a house loan, you have some credit cards, and you're paying them off very well. So it shows that you're very well-rounded, individual, pays their bill, and you're able to handle things like a house loan, for example. 15% is length of credit history. Well, guess what? You guys don't have a whole lot of credit history yet, right? So you're not going to get a whole lot of points there either. You're not going to get a whole lot of points from your credit mix because, I don't know, do you guys have a house payment yet? Car payment, right? So most of it is going to be credit cards maybe. And then 10%, look at that, 10% is new credit. Remember when I said try to resist the temptation of saying, yeah, open the credit card. Even if you're thinking, I'm opening this credit card, it's Kohl's credit card, I'm only getting it because I'm getting 30% off, and then I'm never going to use it again. Damage is done because you have opened new credit. The more new credit you open, the fewer points you get towards your FICO. Why? It's very simple. Every credit card that comes your way is going to have a credit limit. So let's say you've opened 3 credit cards in the month of December because you did Christmas shopping and they all carry $10,000 credit limit. You have $30,000 that you could borrow and spend, even though you may have no intention of spending that money. As far as your creditors are concerned, that is an issue because you could be spending that money, in which case they would wonder whether or not you could repay it. Right? So new credit, anytime somebody pings your credit score because they're looking at potentially giving you a new credit card, is going to count against you. So all of that information is collected and then all of it is put together and they're going to issue you a credit score. All right, what do they indicate? Well, if your credit score is below 579, remember it starts at 300. So 300 to 579 is bad. It's poor, right? If your credit score is 579 or less, it demonstrates to the lenders that you're a risky borrower. Chances are you may not get that car loan. Chances are your landlord is not going to accept your credit, so you might not get the apartment that you want. Okay? 580 to 669, it's fair. 670 to 739 is a good score. 740 to 799 is very good. And then finally, 800 plus is exceptional. So why does that matter? Well, it matters for several reasons. Obviously, you know that it means you may or may not get a loan. But take a look at the benefits of a good credit score. Number one, you're going to get lower interest rates. We're both applying for a loan, and I have an 800 credit score, my loan probably is going to be carrying an interest that's going to be at least 2 to 3% less than what you will have to pay if you have just a good credit score. Okay? Access to more credit. It's going to be a lot easier for you to borrow money that you need to be able to live life. Better job opportunities. You may get passed over for a job because you're competing with someone else for the position and the other person had a much better credit score than you did. Had nothing to do with what you could do, couldn't do. It had to do with the fact that they're not sure what kind of employer you're going to be because you've demonstrated that you cannot handle your personal finance responsibilities well. Easier rental applications. That happens all the time. People don't understand why they can't get rentals that they want. Again, landlords are going to be checking your credit score. Lower insurance premiums. Guess what? If you have a good credit score, when you negotiate your annual premiums with your insurance company, you will end up with better rates as a result of a good credit score. So is a credit score important, she asks, and the answer is, And are you currently working on your credit score?
Yes.
It's pretty scary, right? I mean, technically you haven't even adulted all the way, and they're already holding you responsible. Therefore, it's important for you to know, because the last thing you want is to damage your credit score so badly while you're in college, because remember, you kind of get a pass. Well, it's going to be very hard to dig out of that hole, just like the grades, right? You do poorly on test 1 and you have 2 more tests and you have to do extremely well to pass the class, and then only then you'll have a C anyway. Same with your credit score. Once you've dug a big hole for your credit score, it's very hard to recover from that because your history stays on your record for at least 7 years. All right. So it's important for you to check your credit score from time to time. Remember, we have 3 credit reporting agencies. This is where the data is uploaded from all these banks and credit card companies, and they're the ones tabulating all of your payment history. And there are 3, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You could approach any one of them for about $20. They can run your credit score for you, so at least you know what it is, right? Or a lot of the big banks today also offer your credit score for free. So for example, Bank of America, Chase, Citi, Discover, they will actually share your credit score with you. All you have to do is basically ask for it. But by all means, listen carefully. The first time you are going to a lender for something of importance, like I would imagine within the next 5 years, a lot of you are going to be married, and gosh, isn't it going to be nice to be able to buy your first townhouse or your first house, and now you're dreaming, you kind of have your money together, and you're looking at different places, and you finally go for your loan, and you get turned down because you have a bad credit score. And you're very surprised because you didn't realize you had a bad credit score, and then you look into it, and then there were some records that were attached to your social security numbers that were not yours, and then you have to clean this up, and it's going to take 6 months. So here, a tip. before you get to that point, before you get all involved in something as exciting as buying a house, go ahead and check your credit score ahead of time. See what it is and see if there's any error associated with it. Fix it before you go apply for a loan. Okay, now let's talk about saving. A tip for you, do save with a purpose in mind. Determine how you want your money to behave and how you want to apply it. For example, determine that you need to set up a basic emergency fund. Therefore, every month you need to go ahead and save $50 and put it in your emergency fund. Or determine that you really want this incredible spring break in your senior year, and you'd like to have $5,000 saved for that spring break. Or you need $500 saved for Christmas this year. So you need to be able to save some money so that around Christmas you can spend about that much for all the Christmas presents you have to buy. Here is the idea. If you're in control of your money and you know what it is you're trying to achieve and what it is you need to save for, next time somebody says to you, hey, we're all going bowling, and you're like, well, you know, I'd love to go, but honestly, I'm saving for my spring break next year, and I'm putting money aside for that, and that's what I'm going to do with this money right now. Okay? What you're telling people is you'd love to go, but honestly, you've already determined what that money was going to go for and is going to meet one of the goals that you have. And by the way, again, sharing that with your friends, letting them see what it is you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish may actually help them do some of the same things, right? Well, maybe I should be saving for my spring break too. Maybe I shouldn't go bowling either, right? Maybe we can do something else, like watch a movie and eat some popcorn instead, something a little bit cheaper. Okay, next one. It's so important for you guys to have a vision for your financial future. It's important for you to be able to sit there and say, you know what? I have some short-term financial plans and I have some long-term financial plans. So what are some short-term financial plans? It could be as simple as, okay, I understand I should not be carrying a credit balance. So my short-term plan is going to be to pay off my credit card balance by graduation. And I'm going to use one of those calculators to find out how much I need to pay every month so I can be done with this madness by the end of school. Or another short-term goal would be, I'm graduating in 2 years and I would like to be able to rent this really cool apartment in Midtown that I've had my eyes on. My friends live there too. And I know that I'm going to need 2 months worth of rent to be able to apply for that apartment. So my goal is, in the short term, I want to have enough money for 2 months worth of rent, okay? Or I know I need to start saving for retirement and I want to be able to fund a Roth IRA, discussion for a different day, and it's going to be $2,000 a year and that's what I'm saving for. All right, and then you have those long-term goals. Some of you may have taken some student loans. So maybe your long-term goal is, you know what, I don't want to drag these out forever. I want to be able to pay them off in 5 years. That long-term goal is going to require you to sit down, maybe with somebody to help you, to say, if I want to aggressively pay off these loans in 5 years, what do I have to do on a monthly basis to get there? That becomes your plan. Or got a sweetheart in your life, you know you're going to propose or be proposed to, you're going to get married, and you would love to be able to get into a house 5 years from now. And you know you'll need a down payment, and your long-term goal is to save $20,000 so that in 5 years you can buy a house. That's another long-term goal. Or even longer than that. I know you're not thinking retirement yet because you haven't even started working yet. Listen, I still feel like I'm your age, but I'm not, right? It's gone by so fast, and then retirement is staring me in the face. But you need to start thinking about retirement too. So maybe one of your goals is, you don't know much about retirement at this time, but boy, would it be nice if I could retire at the age of 60 in 40 years, and wouldn't it be nice if I had $1 million in the bank? That is a long-term goal. Okay, well, guess what? All those long-term goals, with a little preparation, a little planning, can all be achieved. But if you don't have those goals to begin with, guess what? You just have money, and then you end up doing what? You end up spending it, right? As opposed to you controlling how the money is going to be used in order to make sure that you're successful on a personal finance basis. And by the way, when I mean successful, I don't mean rich. I don't care about rich. By successful, I mean that you have set goals and you are doing what you need to do to meet those goals. That is being successful. If you can do more than this, then you're very successful, right? Not everybody has to live within the same means, and we all know that's not going to be the case. But we can all have goals, and we all need to be able to implement them so we get there. Oh, there's a big one. Have you heard of the time value of money? Did you know that money has time value? I just told you that, right? Money has time value. What it means is the younger you are, when you start investing, the more money you will have in the future. It's that simple. And there's something that's called compound interest that is going to enable you to get there. Compound interest, the only thing you need to know at this point, basically allows you to earn interest on interest. And interest on interest acts as a snowball. Starts really small, and the more you roll it in the snow, the bigger it gets. So let me show you a couple of examples to whet your appetite, okay? So this is a Dave Ramsey calculator that is available online, and he's using compound interest to show you what will happen if you assume that you're 20, which I assume most of you are, they're around, and you want to retire at 60. So you have 40 years ahead of you to plan for retirement. You have no savings currently, but you're willing to save $100 a month every month, and you think you can earn 10% on your investments. Remember, the banks are charging you 25%. You think you can place your money in investments and get 10%. Take a look at the calculator for a minute, right? You'll see that when you turn 60, you will have $500,000. And all you have put in is $100 a month every month for 40 years. Take a look. You have contributed some money coming out of your pocket. You have contributed a total of $48,000. The rest, $483,111, is all interest. Why? Well, you started early, you started young, and the money you put in earned interest, which in turn earned interest on interest and interest on interest, and it just kept going for 40 years. $100 a month, ladies and gentlemen, at 10%, will secure $500,000 by the time you're 60. How do you like that? Now, what if you're still 20, you want to retire at 60, but this time you're so excited about that $500,000, you are planning on saving $200 a month. Now remember, this is when you're working and you have a big boy and a big girl job, right? You're now saving $200 a month. At the age of 60, look, you'll have $1,062,000 in the bank. Can you retire on this pretty comfortably, you think? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, technically, by the time you guys retire, you probably should have closer to $3 million. But that could be an adulting 101 for later when we talk about saving for the future and retirement. But $1 million and all you've put in is $200 a month. Listen, that's literally skipping a Starbucks coffee twice a week. We'll get you there, okay? Now, Here's what I want you to know. Remember I said money has time value? The younger you are when you invest, the more money you'll have when you retire. Look at my second example. Same example, except you're now starting to save at age 30. You were 20 on the example at the top. You're now 30. Take a look at how much you will have. You will have $395,000 as opposed to $1,062,000. Which number do you like better? Now take a look at your contributions at the second example. You contributed $72,000. In the example at the top, you contributed $96,000. Not that much more, right? Not that much more. But because you started 10 years sooner in the first example, you will have considerably more money. So what does that tell you? You need to start investing for the future, and you need to start yesterday. But if you didn't, that's okay, as long as you need to start now. It's never too late, but start investing for your future, because you have one thing that I no longer have. You have youth on your side. You have time on your side. And if you miss it and you wait until you're 30, this is a difference in your investments. Okay? All right. Whew, how are we doing? We're good? What time is it? There's no clock? Oh, it's almost 2. I think we're done. We're done. I just wanted to end with this one. Listen, you know graduation? I don't know when graduation is for you, but you need to give yourself a gift for graduation as well, okay? That gift should be you graduate without credit card debt. That gift should be a strong FICO score. It should be controlled spending habits. It should be a clear understanding of what your financial goals are, short-term, long-term. It should be the ability to resist peer pressure, right, in order to protect your financial peace. And then it should also be understanding that the minute you're able to save, you should absolutely set up an investment account for the future. All right. Want to learn more? Want to know more? You know that I teach a course here. It's called Finance 2500. It's called Consumer Finance, and it's an online course, and we basically go over a lot of the things that we have talked about in this hour together. As a matter of fact, right now they're busy putting together an investment portfolio that they'll be watching all semester long. You can also listen to podcasts and get yourself educated. There's some right here that are good. Money with Katie is one of them. The Dave Ramsey Show is kind of fun to listen to because you get to hear how people have messed up in their life and the advice that he's giving them. So Money is another one. The College Investor is one. Lots of podcasts out there for young people starting out to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So that's my other advice to you. You know, be an influence for your friends as well. Do it, and then, you know, tell them you're doing it, because I have a feeling that a lot of them will want to do it as well. Okay?
I have a question. So I know you shouldn't open up too many credit cards. Is there an optimal number? Since I know, like, you can, if you have more, then you can build your credit score by constantly paying.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, you know, that's something that you hear a lot too, right? When you're young, you should have a credit card because that's the only way you're going to build your credit score. And that's true to some extent, but you have to be careful with that. So you need one credit card. That's all you need. Now, you need to use your credit card and pay it off every month so that you have a record of you doing that. If you have 2 credit cards, that's okay as well. But remember, credit cards are really supposed to be just convenience cards. So it's a matter of how well you handle them. And I wouldn't be tempted to open too many credit cards because at your age, that would not look very good. And again, it would be because it would be looking at the total amount of the credit that's been approved for you, and that becomes a risk for them. Okay? Yeah.
And then I have another question.
Yeah.
Kind of the same, but about savings accounts. Is there like a limit on how many savings accounts you can have? Is there an optimum number?
No, but I wouldn't have too many savings accounts, right? I would have a savings account, that's my emergency fund. And then if you're gonna have more savings in addition to that, I would actually invest that. So I would open a mutual fund and I would put all my savings in a mutual fund so that you can start benefiting from the time value of money. Because on your savings account, you're not gonna earn very much money at all. Okay, yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your attention. It was a pleasure to be here. I wish you all the best.